Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for a brand new Chelsea FC news video. It's Tuesday morning. I thought it would be a double upload day to start December to let you guys know and make you prepared for a very busy month of content here on GBFC. So if you haven't yet hit the subscribe button, I'd love to ask you to do so, then you're more likely to see more of these videos that I'll be posting over the course of December. It's an incredibly busy month of football. You could almost say it's a season-defining month of football. You guys know that I love to always put things straight into the melting pot of seriousness. But it is, you know, we've got Sevilla, and if we beat Sevilla on Wednesday night, we will probably win the Champions League group. There's also the Champions League last 16 draw that will be held this month. We've had the FA Cup third round draw, and we've got a ton of matches to play in the Premier League, including some very big ones, including the rivalry of Leeds United, which is reunited this weekend at Stamford Bridge. There'll be 2,000 fans inside the bridge. Sadly, I will not be one of them, but I'm very excited just to hear a little bit of noise again organically back inside the bridge. Now, whenever it comes to the FA Cup draw, in the early rounds, I am always craving Chelsea being drawn against lower league opposition. The FA Cup is a competition that, as a Chelsea fan, I like to take it seriously. I love to see us win the FA Cup, and it would be a big one if we could get that kind of trophy in the cabinet at the end of this season. So, Chelsea being drawn at home to League 2 opposition Morecambe is, to me, the absolute perfect draw for this club. It means that we can probably rest a few of the first team top players, see some of the youngsters who are kind of on the fringes and looking to break through into this side. We can see some of those guys play because, well, you know, we shouldn't disrespect the opposition. It is the FA Cup. We still have those moments where the magic of the cup shows its face every once in a while. But Morecambe are in League 2. Chelsea should be able to field any team and probably get the result in this one. It would be an opportunity for the likes of Tino Anjorin maybe to get some minutes. Hopefully, we bloody see Fikayo Tomori in the side from this one. And maybe even Kepa Arrizabalaga starts in goal, which is a crazy thought to think about, but maybe he also moves away in January. We're not going to talk about that one too much today because I've not really seen too many reports of any potential Kepa move as of yet. But Morecambe is the FA Cup third round draw. It's going to be played in the early stages of January. I think it's a perfect draw for Chelsea. You've also got some notable ties, such as Liverpool returning to Villa Park after they were beaten by 7 earlier this season. Arsenal have got Newcastle in another all-Premier League tie. But the tie of the round is, of course, Spurs being drawn away from home against 8th tier Marine FC from Merseyside. That one is pretty spectacular. But the first story that I want to talk about today that isn't FA Cup draws is the goal that won West Bromwich Albion their first Premier League game of the season, and it was scored by a man who goes by the name of Callum Gallagher. Callum Gallagher is a midfielder. He is on loan currently from Chelsea Football Club. There is 3 notable midfielders who are currently out on loan: Callum Gallagher, Ross Barkley, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And in the live stream I did yesterday with Matisse, we were talking about which one of these 3 players we believe would have the biggest future at Chelsea. So I thought today, within this news video, I would ask for you guys' opinion on what you've seen from those 3 midfielders currently out on loan at Premier League clubs this season. Bringing it back to Callum Gallagher, I've been very impressed with what I've seen with him at West Brom. Even though West Brom are really struggling, it was their first win of the campaign. I think they're up to 6 points or something now from 10 games. It's not exactly, you know, the greatest form of any club in the division, and it probably does look likely that they might be bouncing straight back down again to the Championship. However, if we look statistically at what Callum Gallagher has done so far this season, he's only made 5 fewer tackles than N'Golo Kante. That's still quite a little bit. 5 tackles is a lot. But at the same time, considering, it shows that even though he's a little bit younger, he's still got that physical presence in the West Brom midfield. He scored the winning goal at the weekend. We bring it back to the loan spells that we saw from him last season at both Charlton Athletic and Swansea City in the Championship. He was scoring a few goals there, getting assists as well. And he's playing regular minutes, which for me is the most important thing when a player who we want to see have a future at the club goes out on loan and it's to another Premier League club. The key thing is always getting minutes against Premier League teams under the belt of the player. Callum Gallagher's getting a lot of minutes for West Brom. He's starting the majority of matches, and I've been very impressed with what I've seen. He looks very confident on the ball. He makes tackles in the middle. He's now adding goals to his game as well. The first one coming at the weekend. Callum Gallagher is doing all that he can right now at West Brom. He's playing some good stuff, and I've been impressed with what I've seen. And in terms of a future at Chelsea Football Club, he is one of those players that I see over the next couple of seasons as having the kind of potential to break through, similar to that of someone such as Billy Gilmour, or maybe even a Ruben Loftus-Cheek before that horrible injury in that friendly in the US. Ruben, on the other hand, if we move it on to him, I watched a bit of the Fulham-Leicester game last night, which, by the way, brilliant news, Chelsea remain in third place in the table after Leicester are beaten at home to our West London rivals 2-1, including a penalty scored by Fulham, which is something you don't see every day. Take a little sip of coffee, Fulham fans, enjoy that one. But focusing on our boy Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Ruben. It was, it wasn't the worst performance from him. He didn't really do too much wrong. But despite Fulham going to Leicester and getting the result, I don't think Loftus-Cheek is lighting up the Fulham squad right now in a way that we would have liked to see him do so, to be confident that when he comes back to Chelsea, he can have a part to play in this team. And if you look at the other young players that are coming through, particularly Mason Mount and Billy Gilmour, who a lot of people are highly anticipating returning to the Chelsea side, is Ruben able to have the similar impact right now compared to those two players in an already star-studded midfield? Sadly, I'm beginning to think that it might not happen, and I'd love to know what you guys have to say about this one in the comments down below. When we think of breakthrough players from the academy into the first team over probably the past 10 years or so, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is one of the first names that comes to mind. He broke through at an early age. He has that physical build that means that he can barge past players. But something I've seen this season with him at Fulham is that he does go down quite easily. And I feel as though since that injury, which of course was a potentially career-threatening injury, it seems as though he's kind of lost a bit of that physical presence, which I think was such a huge element of his game, and it made him stand out from the rest of the players. And this move to Fulham, I said it at the beginning of the season when Ruben was announced that he went on loan to Fulham, this is the biggest season of his career. Because of that injury, the progress that he was making was actually stunted. And now that Chelsea has spent a lot of money, bought in some very good midfielders, we've got other midfielders out on loan who are competing with Ruben to come back to Chelsea, such as Callum Gallagher and Ross Barkley, who we're going to talk about in a moment. It's becoming very, very tough, and Ruben's going to have to dramatically improve his form, contribute a lot more to Fulham, who are now out of the relegation zone. He needs to build on that. He started yesterday and he was substituted in the 77th minute. We need to see Ruben doing more. There are some times at the moment where he's not even starting Premier League matches for Fulham. And if you look at where Fulham are in the table, if he's not starting every game for Fulham, how could we consider him starting every game for Chelsea? Ruben's one of those players that I do really want to see succeed, and hopefully between now and the end of the season, we see him get more minutes, we see him develop in confidence, and we see him grow into that physical kind of midfielder that we always have known that he can be. Now, the next player we're going to talk about for a little while is Ross Barkley. A lot of people have said that Frank Lampard's a massive fan of Ross Barkley, and his early season form at Aston Villa and the combinations that he was making with Jack Grealish suggested that Frank Lampard would be interested and has opened the door for a return to Ross Barkley next season. Aston Villa, not surprisingly, didn't win last night away at West Ham United, and Ross Barkley was not in the team. They miss Ross Barkley and the creativity that he has and the physical presence of Barkley. He's quite a big guy, he's very powerful, he likes to run forward with the ball, and the combination between him and Grealish has been one of the reasons why, particularly earlier in the season, within the first 4 games or so, Aston Villa looked very good indeed. It's kind of gone off the pace a little bit since then, but no Barkley in the side, can't really talk about it too much, but it's looking as though Ross Barkley is a very important component in what has been a relatively successful Aston Villa team so far this season. So watch this space. As for a personal opinion, which is kind of why I made these videos in the first place, I don't know if Ross has got the consistent quality to be ready for a Chelsea squad, particularly with the investments that we've made again. It's a tough one with all of these loan moves, and I think that Ross Barkley, if I'm being realistic about it, was probably one of those loans where Chelsea understand the English resale value that Ross Barkley could have to another Premier League club, wanted him to go out on a loan this season where he'd have a big part to play in a Premier League club's midfield, and then come next summer, we can command a higher fee for the sale of the player. Now, the biggest news of today's video comes from the Twitter account of Simon Phillips, who has often been a very reputable journalist within the Chelsea community. Simon is reporting, according to AS, that Chelsea are in pole position to sign David Alaba from Bayern Munich. He has decided not to accept Bayern's renewal offer, and Chelsea will meet with his representatives in January. He will listen to what they have to say and appreciates the interest from Frank Lampard. Now, this is something that we heard about a week ago, or maybe 10 days ago, but since then, it seems to be gathering a little bit of steam, of course. As we enter December, it becomes 1 month until the January transfer window is open, and David Alaba was supposedly more interested in a move to one of the Spanish clubs. We're talking Barcelona, Real Madrid. Alaba's 28 years old. He's in the prime years of his career, playing in a star-studded Bayern Munich team, champions of Germany, champions of Europe, and he doesn't want to sign a new deal, which means that Bayern Munich will be looking to sell the player, the Austrian defensive midfielder, left-back, centre-back, in January. Now, when I look at where Chelsea have strengthened and where I look at where we could strengthen, we obviously have bought in Thiago Silva, who has made a massively positive impact in the Chelsea team. At 36 years old, he still looks as though he could be playing at the top level for quite some time. That being said, a future centre-back such as David Alaba coming in, he could sign for Chelsea and definitely play at the highest level guaranteed for at least another 5 years. So having the opportunity to bring in a man of Alaba's stature at this stage within the prime of his career, I think is a wonderful signing for Chelsea. Not only that, but we know that in the past he's played a lot of his career at left back, and Chelsea have Ben Chilwell. Yes, he's come in and actually done a very good job of solidifying that place. Marcus Alonso and Emerson are currently the backup left backs at the club, and I don't really think that Frank Lampard has the full confidence that these two left backs are actually good enough for Chelsea Football Club. So Alaba comes in. It gives us another very good world-class option at left-back, meaning that Ben Chilwell can sometimes be rested if Chelsea are competing on all fronts this season. And the fact he can also play in the centre-back role as a left centre-back is absolutely brilliant to see. It can be either him alongside Zuma, who prefers to play in the right centre-back role usually, but because Thiago Silva has played there for his entire career, he's come in taking the right centre-back. Zuma's done more than brilliant so far for me at LCB, and I can't believe I just said that as an abbreviation. What am I doing? But the fact he can also play as a defensive midfielder means that he could also be backup for N'Golo Kante or Billy Gilmour, or maybe he could even play on the left side of the midfield eights, which would push him further up the field than we've seen him before, or the majority of the time, but sometimes where he plays for Austria. And I think, again, it would give Chelsea so much strength in depth across the entire squad. And when we look at some of the players we bought in the summer, it kind of fits that mould of Chelsea bringing in versatile players that can play in various different positions, giving Frank Lampard various different options, and I think that Alaba would be a brilliant signing. As for bringing it back to what we had at lots of stages last season, where I make bold statements saying that this player will sign for Chelsea, it's still very early, but I think that this one could actually be highly likely when we look at the Spanish club's reluctance to spend money, when Frank Lampard looks at this Chelsea team and he's aware that there is still money available to spend. You compare the signing of Alaba to maybe the signing of Declan Rice. Financially, it would probably be cheaper for Chelsea to go in for Alaba. He's already a more complete player, and again, similar to Rice, he can play in various different positions, and Chelsea could maybe look at the availability of Declan Rice come next summer, and West Ham may not charge as much money if that is something we're still looking to do. I would love to see Chelsea go for David Alaba. I think it would be a brilliant signing. I actually think it would be the perfect signing, adding another world-class player to an already star-studded world-class squad. Let me know your thoughts on this potential signing in the comments down below. And of course, I'll be updating you guys here on GBFC as this story develops or doesn't develop, as the case may be. So anyway, going to bring an end to this Chelsea news video today. We've talked about the loanees, we talked about Alaba, we talked about the FA Cup. Let me know your thoughts on all of those things in the comments down below. And don't worry, if you've already finished your coffee and you want to watch a bit more GBFC, just wait until the afternoon where you can maybe change it to a little bit of cup of tea, you know, something slightly less strong and caffeinated. There'll be a brand new video again out later on today. My Sevilla versus Chelsea match preview. So stay tuned for that one. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you all later. Come on, you Blues.